Part One-on-One with Mr. Burgher.
It's been a minute since we podcasted, huh?
It has. Yeah, we've been taking our time and putting it elsewhere, haven't we?
Well, and that's kind of exciting news that we have for the podcast, is because the space that we will be podcasting in is really what part of the big deal that we're working on. We're working on finishing our basement and shuffling some kids around, which will give us an office and podcasting space, which has been kind of a dream of ours for, I don't know, since we met, I guess.
Well, since we met and since we started doing the podcast and since we purchased the property, it's kind of like, okay, where can we go and make this work in our space? And we're going to have a couple of cool spaces, I think, that we could podcast from. But the first one's first. And we're getting closer to that point, I think.
Right.
And we apologize, or at least I do, for not being.
I don't, apparently.
not being quite
consistent.
Consistent with the Sunday post time. But last time we did a live. This time, we got something ready to roll. But we do. We appreciate you interacting with the content all the same.
Yes. All right. Well, this is Art One-on-One. I'm your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist and master educator, Mr. Burgher.
We are here. We are under construction.
Did you notice how I did that?
And
I was looking at the camera the whole time. I did not look at you.
I love that. I loved every second of that.
I didn't.
I don't like when you...
I was talking to you. I want to look at you.
But you're talking to the people.
I'm talking to both.
Anyway.
All right. So, we're going to jump right into this week in art history.
Yeah. This week, as we get closer and closer to the month of May, and we're in the cusp of that, it's important to recognize that May is National Photography Month. And I've done a lot of work with photography. I've got lots of family members that have done a lot of work with photography. We've my biological family, my adoptive family, have all done quite a bit of work and study and found enjoyment in the artistic area of photography. And I think, it's kind of nice to recognize photography and the photographers and the things that they do.
And it's interesting, where it came from, how it started, where it all came from. I really still do not understand the logistics of it. I don't understand. So I'd love you to dive a little bit deep into the history of photography and then questions I have.
Right. Well, I've got a video on it called The History of...
Nice.
I think it's called The History of Photography. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. It's been a minute or two since I created that one. But the evolution of photography has not changed that much in the past couple of years.
Right.
So you could go out, find that particular piece, and, you're not going to be too behind on the times. As, it kind of got its roots with the classics, the ancients. Aristotle develops what we know as the camera obscura or the darkroom concept, and then it's the science behind taking that image and trying to preserve it through the chemistry, and the optical phenomena is one thing. The chemical phenomena is something completely different.
I understand the optical part of it, where you're projecting something and it originally reversed it or whatnot,
right.
Put it upside down. Is that right?
Yeah.
But I don't understand how chemistry, a chemical, can take something of that really isn't produced yet, that isn't matter, that isn't physical form, and turn it into that. I don't understand the concept.
Those silver compounds that have scientifically been processed and figured out to react to light, the lights and the darks and all of that. That if you're taking a picture of a black vehicle, on the negative it's going to look white because it's the black is going to be not burned in, so to speak, and the white will be burned in, so to speak, and so things look reversed. And then coming up with the reverse negative process and Daguerre and all of the rest that spent time and energy trying to figure out how to use the silver compounds, how to use other things like mercury and mercury vapor to develop those compounds and all of the things. The Kodak company, as they processed through and made photography a household thing.
What even made them, how would you even know you could take a chemical and make it produce a picture of something? What in that first person's mind? That's what I don't know. It just amazes me.
I don't know. That's a great question.
To think about, what even made someone think, okay, so yes, we can project an image, but how could we put that image onto something by using I don't know. It just, the person who very first thought of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that. What was in their mind? What made them think that silver was, the first person to figure out, silver's light sensitive, or
because it's just so random, right?
Yeah, well, you'd think, but I would assume that through various experiments, you figure out, this does this when I do this. Just like, so many things, you can figure out how to make gasoline out of corn with ethanol. You can figure out, who's the first person to figure that out? Well, who knows? I'm sure somebody knows, but at any rate, at some point, one experiment leads to another, to another, to another, and eventually you take that knowledge and you're like, hey, I know this does that, let me apply that.
Take it a little bit further.
To this other thing. Just like initially, side note, like bubble wrap. How did somebody first figure out what bubble wrap could be used to wrap up things? Well, that's not the first intention of bubble wrap. Bubble wrap was designed as 3D wallpaper. And then they said, hey, instead of just covering our walls in this bubble wrap, why don't we use it for packaging? And now, instead of decorating our walls with it, we pack it into, our boxes and shipping. And so, one thing might have another use. That's true of medicines. That's true of natural things. Honey and
right.
All kinds
plants, oils,
all kinds of things that have health benefits or have other benefits beyond just and some of that's also wrapped in myth. Like for example, back in the day, the biggest myth that still persists to this day is that carrots make your eyesight better. And the reason that they said that is because during World War II, they had this technology of seeing down into the British bombers were able to use technology to see down and into these German cities and these German targets during World War II, and then they didn't want to give away the technology, so they just said, well, our pilots have superior eyesight because they eat carrots. We found that carrots make their eyesight better. And so then everyone's like, oh yeah, eat carrots because that makes your eyesight better. But it was really just a lie made up to not give away the technology secrets.
I have a hard time trusting your,
Look it up.
your
Look it up.
myths
Look it up.
and the. I feel like I'm going to go back in time, and there's going to be another story that.
Prove me wrong. Get out your phone. Prove me wrong. I'm not kidding.
I will. I will after the fact.
Why?
But
After the fact, it'll be too late. People are going to say, "Oh no!"
Where did you get this information from?
My brain.
No, I'm saying where did you do your research?
I read all kinds of
Oh, believe me, I know.
I read shit all the time, lady. I'm constantly absorbing and
You
learning.
don't read shit. You listen to shit.
I read. I listen. I absorb everything. Look it up.
I'm not going to look it up.
You got your phone like 2 seconds from you.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
It does refer to your British propaganda and trying to conceal their technology.
Oh.
But more elaborating on it, like vitamin A deficiency leads to night blindness and can affect the eyes terribly, which is a big source in carrots. So
You have to eat 1 billion carrots.
it's really not. It's really not a myth.
It is.
I mean,
a myth.
it's a myth, but
Does it say this is true? Carrots will make your eyes better?
it says, while carrots do contain beta-carotene, which the body converts into vitamin A, a nutrient essential for eye health, the connection between carrots and improved eyesight is largely a myth.
It's largely a myth because you would have to eat a truckload of carrots
Well, yes.
to have minimal results.
I don't disagree with that, but carrots still help the eyes, and I'm still going to tell my kids that.
So you're going to perpetuate the myth and the lie to get your kids to eat carrots. Perfect. Well done.
They won't listen to me anyway. It doesn't matter.
It's just like all those other myths that parents tell their kids to get them to do things that they don't want to do.
That's true.
Well,
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
sometimes you got to lie to your kids, I guess.
Art talk, interestingly enough, is the next topic we're going to move on to, and it is a card that is specific to photography as well.
Well done.
Yeah, I'm good like that.
You are.
So here we go. The first photographic image was made in 1827 and required how many hours of exposure time?
Probably 8.
Good guess. 8 hours of exposure time.
Good guess. That's not a guess. That's knowing.
Today, pictures can be taken instantly. In 1975, a scientist photographed a bullet shooting through an apple at 1/3 of a second. If you could take a picture of something that happens in a split second, what would you photograph and why?
I think that most photographs that I shoot are taken in a split second. You're not going to spend an entire second taking a photograph. Every photograph that you capture is going to be a fraction of a second. So splitting the second, even 1/2 of a second. 1/2 of a second is a long exposure time for a camera. Most, for example, if you're taking really good photographs, photographers in the NFL. One of my former students is a major photographer for a major NFL franchise, and he could tell you when he's capturing his great photographs of the LA Rams that he is going to be shooting at about 1/1000th of a second easily to try to capture that frozenness of the athlete jumping over a pile or making that run or making that diving catch or whatever the case may be. And so that today happens virtually every day.
Okay, so I get that. So here, it's 1975. This just comes out, and you can take a picture that is 1/1,000,000th of a whatever.
Right.
What are you going to take a picture of?
Yeah, I think that there's some really classic photos that I think are really cool of like the water droplet like dropping in, and you see like the ring kind of flowering up or whatever that I don't know what the actual scientific term for that is, but when the water droplet hits the other liquid and the liquid kind of springboards out and whatever. I think those are really cool photographs. I think that those macro photographs, there's a photographer that his specialty is taking photographs of ants, and he uses like different solutions, like I assume some sort of sugar solution to get the ants to go where he wants them to go.
Really?
And he poses them out, and it's this macro thing. Now, it's not high speed, but it's more of a macro, or like really, really intense zooming in with those things. But I think those types of photographs are really cool. And again, I've seen the photo of the bullet going through the apple, which is really cool. You see it coming through the opposite side in the back of the apple, kind of exploding out and all of that, which is like kind of a cool image. But there's lots of those types of things. Like, what can you get to move super fast and try to freeze that? Like when we went to a couple years ago, we went to the IndyCar races and taking photographs of those Indy cars zooming past.
So fast.
And again, you're talking about fractions of seconds to get that to look like it's frozen, to look like it's standing still, when really they're traveling at hundreds of miles an hour. But again, I think that there are lots of cool things to take photographs of. It doesn't have to be super intense or whatever, like those examples. But
I think my two things would be like, well, one of my favorite animals is a hummingbird, and so when they started capturing like the wings, because you just don't really see it, but in slow motion, and like when it's there just sucking nectar out of a flower or whatever, I think that was so amazing when I first saw that. And the other thing that is not like more like a split second thing, but more like capturing that moment, is just like that moment of human emotion when someone reacts to something, and you catch that exact moment when they're like so surprised, or it's just so intense. Like, it's not really about speed there, it's more about accuracy of the moment, I think. But
right.
It's a little bit about speed, and I think just capturing that genuine human emotion of a response of something is so cool with the camera.
Yeah. Well, like you're watching the movie or whatever and seeing somebody's reaction to like that moment when something is revealed, whether that's like jumping out at you or with something like
yesterday.
Like something pivotal happens in the storyline. It's like, oh my gosh, like that, just that authentic reaction. Yeah, I could see that. That would be cool.
That's probably
yesterday. What are you talking about?
Yesterday, I was coming out of the bathroom, and you jumped out of you were on the floor, barked like a dog or something, and jumped out in front of me. You not remember that? I didn't feel good. I was so mad at you.
That was it. Was it yesterday?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, could have been
yesterday or Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but those moments where human emotion is just like captured to like this distinct, where you feel like you were there.
Right. That's
pretty amazing that the camera can do that, whether it's a photography or now video,
whatever the case might be. Yeah, I think that like the technology and the cameras and everything is getting better and smaller. You used to be able to, now your camera lens is just a tiny little thing, and the power that thing has to capture some really cool things. And even if it's not, even if your camera is not the greatest camera in the world on your phone or whatever, I encourage people to go out, take some photos, interact with the with photography and capture some moments of your life. You're not going to regret it. Your family's not going to regret it. When our days are done, for people to go look back. The other day, this is going back a couple weeks now, I had bought, we had gone to an auction sale type deal, and there was this top hat, a silly little top hat. I bought the top hat and sent a picture, haha, look at me, I bought this top hat. And then I got a photograph back from my biological mom talking about my great grandfather who had this had this photograph taken of him wearing a top hat and how much he loved hats and all these sorts of things. So it's like, okay, like I wear hats,
Yeah.
from time to, obviously not.
You love wearing hats.
Not at work or in most situations, but a lot of times, like I'll wear a hat or a cap or whatever. And he had a top hat that he had at some point or another in his life, and to be able to say, hey, like that moment that he was wearing the top hat, 100 years ago was shared with me, in that moment of, hey, look. And that experience and all of that was shared through, because that moment was captured.
Right, and it's a story, right? There's a story behind that picture and that moment that we got to learn about, which was way cool.
Yeah. So.
I struggle with that because I'm more like, okay, I want to be more present. I don't want to be taking 8 million pictures. I think there's definitely a balance in that. I think you have a good balance of that because, like, every year, and this is a great, like, if you need an idea for a gift, every year you put together photo books, photo memories for people, from me, your biological mom, whoever. And like like I love looking at it because you look at those pictures and it brings back that memory. It like creates that memory to happen in your brain. And I think that's amazing, but I also think people can get wrapped up in, like, instead of being present in the moment with their people, capturing it with a... Right.
And I think that that's true. I mean, you've got to be engaged in the moment. You can't be photographing every second of the day, which makes your phone super, super handy.
Right.
Because you can capture that image and put your camera away in your phone. Most people are going to be carrying that thing around with you anyway. And you can upload, you can download right from the device.
Yeah.
There's lots of servers and services that are out there for taking photos and processing photos and turning them into various products. And I've got mine that's my favorite. They don't sponsor me, so I'm not going to name their name until I get paid, because that's just how I am. But the point is that you go out, capture some moments, have that memory of, it's one thing to go on the family vacation and take a couple photos or whatever, but like everyday stuff, capturing the work in progress on our home, capturing, when we were redoing some furniture, just taking a couple of fun snapshots throughout the day of our process and our work. Because this one over here likes to say, we never do anything, we never go anywhere, we don't, because, our memory, we don't remember all of those things that we do. And it's like, wait a minute, we don't go anywhere, we went here, we went there, we did this, we did that, and it's like, okay, you're right. But it's also a reflection of, sometimes some people need more adventure than others. I could sit and have an adventure talking to myself, where I don't think you're quite as easily entertained as I am.
That's probably true. Well, I don't think I require much. But on the topic of capturing some pretty cool stuff, recently you started dabbling into ChatGPT and a new venture with that. Why don't you tell people a little bit about that?
Well, there's that trend. I mean, it's not really a me thing. It's a trend thing. I think a lot of people are doing this trend where they're submitting their family photos and saying, roast our family. I think after the Tom Brady roast,
yes,
and there's roasts that have gone on for forever. The roast of Frank Sinatra, or on television or whatever, and you had your Don Rickles types that were kind of the known roast masters. But then there was a year ago, they had that roast of Tom Brady, and that everybody was like super jazzed about it. A contributor to the Art 101 product, Nikki Glazer, she was kind of like a huge comedian and got super popular after that. Not that she wasn't popular before, but got a lot of recognition for the Tom Brady roast. And that being that, I mean, going in and families submitting photos and people are posting these all over social media. I thought it would be fun to submit a photo, and here's the photo of us in front of the American Gothic House. And I thought, wow, how cool would it be to submit this to ChatGPT? I always get the letters wrong, but I think that's the right ones. And I say, hey, could you roast us? And here's what ChatGPT had to say about that.
That's kind of interesting because I would probably never that's an awful photo. Like, we were on the way back from somewhere and we just randomly stopped at the American Gothic House.
We were looking at wedding venues.
Oh, yes.
And we had gone on a little weekend away because we never go anywhere.
Yes.
We had gone to Illinois. We had gone to look at some art and do some things. And we were driving by. I think we may have told this story before, but at any rate, we're driving around and I'm like, hey, this is where the American Gothic House is. And you're like, no way. And then so we turned around and went back and it was closed, but we took some photos and shot video. I made some content.
I don't think I even brushed my hair that day, but, you know,
whatever.
Use that photo to roast us.
Well, I thought it would be a good one to roast us.
Yeah.
It was like real to life.
Yes.
But anyway, here's what ChatGPT had to say in roasting the Pod Boss and Mr. Burgher.
Here we have the dynamic duo, Mr. Burgher, looking like he just finished rebuilding the American Gothic house by hand, using only grit, dad jokes, and leftover paint from Art 101. Nicole Jordan, aka the Pod Boss, who somehow smiles like she knows exactly where the bodies are buried under the sculpture garden. Mr. Burgher roast, sir, you've got the beard of a man who's been arguing about what is art since 1893, and still isn't convinced Impressionism was necessary. You're out here giving Bob Ross after a triple espresso energy, calming yet somehow about to drywall a gallery wall mid-sentence. Also, that hoodie? That's not fashion. That's, I lost a bet with my 7th period class couture. Pod Boss Nicole roast. Nicole Jordan looks like she can run a meeting, write the curriculum, file your taxes, and still find time to judge your color theory. All before lunch. That cozy sweater? That's the official uniform of someone who's about to nicely destroy you in a staff meeting. You don't run the pod. You are the pod. Together, you two standing in front of the American Gothic house is perfect because you're already a living modern art piece. 2 educators, 1 coffee short of a nervous breakdown.
But the thing is, but as we listen to that roast, I don't know why it is that ChatGPT hates me so much, but they're like, oh, look at you, you're the nicest person in town.
How does it say that? It's because I'm homely. It's like, it looks at me and I'm like completely homely. So what can you say about a homely person? They're like, we better not roast her too much because she's already homely enough.
I don't think that that's it. I think that they're like, oh, look at her. She's a sweet little innocent flower. But
it's not. It's saying like it's really saying I'm a bossy bitch, I think is what it's saying.
I don't think that's what it's saying. It's saying you are the pod. You're the queen bee, and I look like a homeless.
It is perfect though. It's like the distinction about you and like, you know, you could discuss art, but then turn around and go work in the drywall, the American Gothic house or whatever.
Yeah, that has been true to what we've been doing.
That is true, yeah.
But all of the same, it's I feel like I was a little bit more on the savage and the roasted end of the thing. So whatever, ChatGPT.
It is fun if you haven't tried it yet. How do you do that?
Find this ChatGPT. Screw you and your roast.
Tell people how to do that so they know.
I just went into Chat GPT and said,
So you posted a picture in there or uploaded a
yeah,
picture
I
in
just
there?
uploaded a picture and said, do a roast us.
Did you say we were standing in front of American Gothic?
No. I said, the only thing I said was, here's exactly what I said. Get out my handy dandy computer. What I said to them was I uploaded the photo and I wrote, roast us, the pod boss, Nicole Jordan, and Mr. Burgher. Everything else, it was what it found.
Scroll down or go a bite so I can see the picture. Oh, yeah. I figured that's what. Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's fun. So if you haven't tried it yet, just upload like a family picture. I mean, it'd be a great topic of conversation. You're sitting down for supper one night and just to have fun with your kids or, you know, on a Sunday. I just think it's funny. It's a topic of conversation that would be funny with your kids. I'm going to try it with.
And I've seen families on, again, various social media platforms. They'll post their photos of their family and then they'll say, roast us. And then it's like, you know, like it'll make fun of everybody, you know.
Yeah.
And it'll give a little, you know, like just like that, just kind of silly little observational things like, oh, I like your funny shirt, or look at your hat, or you look like this, or you give off this impression, kind of making fun of you. But then, you know, but it's all in fun. You know, it helps us to not take things quite so seriously, even though it's like, what? You don't like my hoodie? But whatever.
You had an Art 101 hoodie on.
I did. Bastard.
Yeah.
So,
All
there
right.
it is.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed our topics today. We kind of kept it light and fun. Feel free to jump on ChatGPT and let us know. Throw us a picture and some roasting, or roast us yourself. I think that would be funny for our video. But thank you so much for watching today. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whatever it is, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching.